Hello, welcome to another video by Maths with Sarah. So today we're going to be tackling this question. It actually comes from a calculator paper. It's quite near the beginning. It's question 5. So in theory it should be quite straightforward, but I'll be honest, there are a lot of steps to this question. And I think it's very easy or very reasonable that people might get a little bit confused with all the steps that you need to do. So as with all these videos, I would encourage you to pause the video now and have a think about how you would go about doing it. If you get stuck, don't worry, just pop back in a few seconds and I'll go through it. Okay, so this question, we've got a floor in the shape of a trapezium, and we've got the dimensions of that trapezium, and we've been told that John's going to paint the floor. And each 5 litre tin of paint costs £16.99. 1 litre of paint covers an area of 2 metres squared, and John's got £160 to spend on paint. So has he got enough money to buy all the paint that he needs? So even just from reading the question, there's a lot of information in here, so we're going to have to work through it quite logically, I think. So let's start by finding the area of this trapezium, or finding the area of the floor that he's going to have to paint. Now, I think I've said before, but I am terrible at remembering equations. I'm really rubbish at it. So I tend to find as many ways as possible that I don't have to remember any equations, because that makes it all the easier for me. So for this trapezium, rather than thinking of it as a trapezium, we could just split it up into a rectangle and a couple of triangles. And that means that it doesn't matter I know there is an equation, remember, for working out the area of the trapezium, but I don't need it because I can work it out without. So we know that the area of this rectangle, that it's the same width as this top side. So we know that it's got a width of 10 and a height of 7. So the area of this rectangle itself will be 70 metres squared. And then if we look at this triangle, so we know that the total floor is 16 with 10 in the middle. So we know that this little side here is going to be 3, and this one is going to be 3. So that's the 6 that is tagged onto the 10 at the top. And we know, as from before, that the height is 7 metres. So if we're working out the area of this triangle, remember it's base times height divided by 2. So for that, we get 7 times 3, which is 21, divided by 2. So that'll be 10.5 metres squared. And now if we add all that together, we've got 2 of these triangles. So that's going to be 21 in total, plus the area of the rectangle in the middle. So that's 70. And so in total, you're going to get 91 metres squared as the area of that trapezium. Now, perfectly fine. If you want to use the equation, I did actually look it up so that I could just test that it did give you the right answer, and I can confirm that it does give you exactly the same answer. So if you were going to use the equation, you would do 10 plus 16 divided by 2. So the top width plus the bottom width divided by 2, and then you times that by the height. So you times that by 7, and that does also give you 91 metres squared. So it doesn't matter which method you use. I just personally always forget this or get it muddled with something else. So I'd rather know that I can work it out without using the equation, but it is definitely personal preference. So the next information that we've been given is we want to know how much paint we're going to need to cover this floor. So we know that we need 1 litre of paint to cover 2 metres squared. So how many litres do we need to cover 91? So for this, we're going to do 91 divided by 2, because that's how many metres squared each litre of paint is going to cover. And if we do this, we're going to get 45.5 litres of paint. So we've got 45 litres of paint. Sounds about right for a floor that sort of size. Yeah, it's going to be exactly half of half of the total area. And then we've been told that each 5 litre tin of paint costs £16.99. But that's for 5 litres.
So how are we going to work out how many tins of paint we need to use? So we're going to do 45.5 divided by 5, because that's how many litres in a tin, and that will give you 9.1. So we know we're going to need 9.1 tins. Just write that underneath so that I don't forget. This is another thing that I always do, is I always write the units down, or I always try and write down exactly what it is that you've worked out. So I'd be there, sat there writing down, this is the area, this is how many litres of paint, this is how many tins of paint, just so that if I check back later, I can remember exactly what I've done. And similarly, if an examiner is reading this, they can understand exactly what you've done each step of the way. Okay, I've digressed. Let's carry on. So we know that you're going to need 9.1 tins of paint, and that each tin costs £16.99. So we're going to need to do 9.1 times by 16.99. And that, if you do that sum, you're probably going to have to do it on a calculator, or at least I did. You're going to get 154.609. So I'm going to round that to 61. So this is our total. So we've got 154.61. John's been given £160, so he has got enough to spend on the paint. Brilliant. Also, it's quite a good way to check that your answer is about right, because if we've got, say, 160,000 or 1,600 or something, you'd be thinking that we've got a very, very different answer to what they've given us. So it's actually a really good way of thinking, well, actually, I've got a number that's pretty close to that. So the chances are that I've probably done the working out right. And that's something that I really encourage you to do, is if at all possible, it's possible for you to check that your answer makes sense. But at as many points as you can, it will really save you time. So, for example, if we'd for example work this out in pennies rather than in pounds, we've got 15,461. Hopefully, you'd be thinking, doesn't quite seem right, and that's a really good way to check that you've probably made a mistake, and you can go back and check your answer really, really easily. Okay, so hopefully that's gone through this question for you. Hopefully you're quite happy with the answer, and hopefully it's given you a few little tips on how to tackle this sort of question, and how to lay out, how to make sure you're really clear about exactly what you're doing, and the importance of checking your answer either as you go through or when you get to the end, if it does make sense. So please like the video and subscribe to my channel so you get the first look at any new videos that come out. And thank you very much for watching.